Hello everyone, Rebecca here from Stocking My Pantry, and in today's video we're going to be canning blueberries. I happened to get an awesome deal on blueberries at Aldi just yesterday. They were 99 cents a pint. I checked the price at my local Walmart and the current price is $2.99. They were on sale for $2.69, but obviously 99 cents is way better. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity to preserve some blueberries. So I looked at a few different options for canning blueberries, and some of them were fairly time consuming and complex. So I'm going to do just two fairly easy ways. And then I also decided to freeze some of the blueberries just to have them on hand for later. I could can them later, but we use frozen fruit in our morning smoothie every day. And so I figured that those would be perfect for that. So today what we're doing is just canning straight blueberries. And the process is actually pretty simple, and that's why I chose that as a way to preserve them rather than making blueberry pie filling or blueberry syrup or some of these other things that you can make. I kind of go for things that are simple, generally speaking, and this was one of the easiest ways to preserve them. And then you can always use them different ways. This is a steam bath or water bath can recipe. I'll be using my Nesco canner today. You can use any water bath or steam canner that you have. In terms of preparation, I have made a very light syrup that I have on the stove that I'll be bringing over here to the table when I'm ready to fill the jars. I also have a pot of boiling water on the stove, and I'm going to bring you over there in a minute. And the reason for that is you can raw pack or hot pack blueberries. And I love easy, as I said. And so generally speaking, I would say, oh, let me just raw pack. But everything that I have read said they turn out a lot better if you hot pack them. So in spite of me wanting the easy way out, I'm going to hot pack them. If you raw pack, you're more likely to have floating fruit. They might end up above the liquid in the jar, and that won't hurt them, but they can discolor, just different things. So the end product is not as good. So I'm going to hot pack them. So the process for hot packing is to boil the blueberries for 30 seconds and then drain them, and then you put hot syrup on. If you were going to raw pack them, all you would do is put your blueberries in hot jars, which I've already heated the jars, and you would put the hot syrup on them and then process them. So basically it's the same. Obviously hot packing is a little bit more work, but not a whole lot. So sometimes you have to weigh the difference between the end product and the amount of work and decide what's best for you. And today I'm going to hot pack, and hopefully I will be happy that I made that decision. So let's go ahead and go on over to the stove, and we'll get these blueberries in the water. Now I think the hardest part is going to be you want to keep the water boiling, and if I dump this whole bowl in at one time, the water will stop boiling. So my idea is that I will just put in a little bit at a time and hopefully maintain the boil, and yet not have the ones that go in first stay in there forever. Anyway, and then I'll immediately drain them. All right, so let's go on over to the stove. Okay, you can see the water is boiling away, and my thought is, and I hope this will work, is to put in 1 cup of berries at a time and hopefully maintain the boil. I think I might need to slow it down just a little bit. Okay, so obviously I completely lost my boil, so I need to go a little bit slower on this. And let me just be honest with you here that the amount of time for processing is the same whether it's boiled or not. And I just see that I have one that I didn't get the stem out on. I did wash these, and I thought I had cleaned them really well, but I obviously had missed a stem. But anyway, so one thing to keep in mind is that your processing time isn't going to be different, regardless of whether you hot pack or raw pack. And so I'm not going to boil these to death. So since I was concerned about the ones I put in earlier just ending up mush, I am just going ahead and putting them in, all of them, and I'm going to time for 30 seconds and then take them out. And they will have all at least heated up and hopefully not be just mush. Okay, they have been in the hot water for 30 seconds, some more than that, some are way overdone. I'm going to consider this good. And I know that some of you who do this all the time might be like, oh no, you really needed to do that, you know, bring it to a boil and keep it boiling the whole time. But it just wasn't working out and I was afraid of them getting too mushy. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off the stove. They're at least heated up somewhat. And I'm going to drain them and then we'll fill our jars. Okay, so I'm starting to think that there's a reason why I usually do things the easy way. As you saw in the part, I had a hard time getting them to stay boiling. I didn't want them to turn to mush. So anyway, so I basically got them all in the hot water, waited 30 seconds, and then drained them. And then I had my colander that I was going to carry from the kitchen into here, and then I had blueberry juice just dripping all over the place, and then finally thought, oh, why don't I just move them into the bowl? So that's what I did. Point is, I wouldn't have gone through all that had I not, you know, decided to hot pack them, but I'm hoping the end result will be better, so we'll find out. Let's go ahead and fill the jars. And I'm leaving one jar in the canner in case I don't need it. It'll just stay hot and be kind of like a, it's always good to run a full canner. And so anyway, so let's go ahead and fill these. And here's what's interesting. I can already see that after hot packing, you know, after cooking the berry some, I'm going to end up with fewer jars. And that's actually kind of a good thing from the perspective of you get more berries in your jars. So I might end up only with 3 pints, even though my intention was to do 4 or 5. Okay. And by the way, this recipe calls for a 1/2 inch headspace, and so I'm going to fill the jars to bring them up to a 1/2 inch headspace. And yeah, I kind of wish that I had set some aside to raw pack, and I'm tempted to go out and buy some more berries and raw pack them because I can tell these are just going to be kind of overdone. But anyway, okay, so I made a very light syrup for this. I have 6 cups of water and 3/4 of a cup of sugar that I made for the syrup. And I just want to mention, technically you can pack them with water, but again, I've heard the end result is just not as good. So I am using a very light syrup. Okay, let me debubble these. And check the headspace. This one could use just a little bit more, and so I'm going to spoon just a little from this one into these 2. Basically, they're all actually pretty good, but I'm going to even them out just a little bit. Actually, this one's good. Okay, now we're going to wipe the rims and get them into the canner. Okay, we'll put the lids on and then the rings fingertip tight. And I'm going to go ahead and take this empty jar and add some hot water to it just to be able to run a full canner load. So I'm going to go ahead and get these into the canner. Okay, and with this particular recipe, whether you're hot packing or cold packing, you process it pints for 15 minutes, quarts for 20 minutes. Due to my altitude, I'm adding on 5 minutes. I have the valve in the exhaust position. I'm closing the lid, and then I'm going to go ahead and get the canner going. If you need in-depth instructions about how to water bath or steam can in the Nesco canner, I have videos for those, so you can check those out. So I'm pressing water bath steam, putting in 15 minutes, and then adding 5 for my altitude, so 20 minutes, and pressing start. Once a steady stream of steam begins to go out, I will press start again, and then the countdown timer will begin. I'll bring you back to show you the finished product. So my blueberries are out of the canner, and those of you who are astute observers may notice that I have 6 cans here when I only put 3 cans in. So as you know, I had kind of mixed feelings about the hot pack method, and I wanted to try the cold pack or raw pack, same thing, method of this. And yet I thought, I had already set aside blueberries for blueberry jam, and they were measured out and all of that, and I didn't want to use those. And then I happened to think that I have some blueberries in the freezer. I can use those for the jam. Of course, I'll let them thaw first, and it doesn't really matter. So I went ahead and I decided to try raw packing a batch. After I finished processing the first batch, I decided to raw pack. And so what I did with that is I just put the raw blueberries into the jar, and then I added the hot syrup, the exact same syrup, debubbled, wiped the rims, did everything exactly the same, except that they were not cooked. So I have here in the front, I have 3 jars of the hot pack, and then in the back, I have 3 jars of the raw pack. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between the two. Now, I haven't opened any of these yet, and it's a little too early for me to test the seals, though it looks like they all sealed. But first of all, just by observing them, and it'll be very hard for you guys to see because the syrup in there is so dark because of the blueberries. But with the hot pack one, the blueberries are definitely underneath the liquid. With the cold pack, the blueberries, some of them anyway, are above the liquid. In I think one of the hot packs, the blueberries are a little bit above the liquid, but they will probably drop down over time. So that is a difference. I wanted to talk about a couple of other differences, but first, a similarity is I did have some siphoning with both of them. I'm not sure really why, but that did happen with both of them. So there seemed to be no difference in that regard. I think a little less siphoning with the raw pack compared to the hot pack. The biggest difference, well, first of all, obviously the cold pack was super easy to do. Just putting in the blueberries. It was less messy. Of course, took a little bit less time. But a big difference is the amount of blueberries that you can fit in the jar. With the hot pack, let me look because I wrote it down here. I started off with 44 ounces of blueberries, 4 pints, and each pint of blueberries is about 11 ounces. So that's what I started off with. With the cold pack, I could fit just 24 ounces of blueberries into 3 jars. So about 8 ounces of blueberries per jar for the cold pack. And of course, I could fit almost twice as many blueberries in the jar with the hot pack. So since I haven't opened them, I can't really compare the texture. It makes sense that the hot pack would be a little bit more mushy, but they've both been canned, so they're not going to be firm like, fresh blueberries would be. So here's what it comes down to for me personally. If I want things to be easy, cold pack is the way to go. If I want to fit more blueberries in, at least for me, pantry space is somewhat limited. And so in some ways it makes a lot of sense to fit more in the jar. If you want to, you're getting almost twice as many berries in the same amount of space with the hot pack method. If you want it to be as firm as possible, then the cold pack would be the way to go. But of course, they are still processed, so they're not going to be firm. So that's what it comes down to for me. If I had a lot to process, I would still do the hot pack, just because I can fit more in the jar. And then also you don't have the problem of them, being up above the syrup. They are, submerged. And so I think the shelf life is fine on any of them, but you may have better results long term with the hot pack method. So anyway, what I recommend is that you give both methods a try and then decide which one you like the best. Both are approved by the USDA, and so it's safe to do either method. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you would like the video, and if you haven't already done so, if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.